Hey everyone, it's been a while. I wasn't planning on
Hello
making a
there.
build guide for this, but after spending the last
You
week
can never
working
have too
through
many
the new Animus
exploits.
mod updates, I finally cleared Domain 10 and earned the Mod Runner achievement. Along the way, I tested a number of different builds, mastery setups, and engravings, trying to figure out what actually worked for me. And I couldn't find one guide that answered all the questions that I had, so I figured I'd put this together so others can see the build that got me through it. One thing, though, that I want to mention before we get started is I originally began attempting domains at level 91. Domain levels 8, 9, and 10 all have level 100 enemies and higher, but they all had skull icons instead of level numbers at domain 8 when I tried to do it. And at that point, I was getting one shot regardless of the build that I tried. I kept changing gear and mastery points, thinking that I was doing something wrong, but after a lot of testing, I eventually realized the biggest difference really wasn't in my build, it was at my level. I ended up clearing domain 10 at level 98. So, if you're watching this at level 91 or 92 and wondering why you're getting destroyed, don't assume it's your build. First, let's start with my domain exploit tree. One of the runs up into level 8 or higher, I specifically recommend it in one of the lower ones, is to use one of these domain exploits. That way, you can get the Infinite Introduction achievement. But what we're going to focus on here is a level 10 domain run. So, what I recommend purchasing is just the augments. And what I ended up doing was getting armor damage, increased crit chance, increased crit damage, damage increase, and increase in health. At any time here, you pause and take a look at how many I put into each one. But now let's talk about the build itself.
Bye. Have
First
fun in
up
the
is
domains.
the Blade of Yumminess. Mine is at level 91 with one mastery level because this is where I started level 8 at, and I thought I could max it out and it would help. It didn't really help. So if you don't have it, what you'll need to do is complete the mission called A Puzzlement, collect the 13 hidden glyphs that unlock the Isu Vault, and then recover the 4 sword pieces. There are already some great guides that walk you through that process, so I'm not going to spend any time on how to actually collect the Blade of Yumminess. The important part is what I engraved on it along with its natural 250% damage but not being able to use abilities. That is Sheathed Attacks are postured and make enemies vulnerable. This engraving is really the heart of my build. It's found in the Loyal Traveler Katana, which comes from the legendary chest at the Kamakura Shrine. Almost everything this build does revolves around opening fights with the Sheath Attacks. For my bow, I'm using the Decider. I actually got this from the exchange. Honestly, though, I don't think it's that important. You'll see during the run, I almost never use the bow. I simply kept it equipped because it had a permanent 10% damage engraving on it. So if you don't own this bow, don't worry about it. Any bow that gives you a use of passive or an extra damage engraving that you can put on any other weapon should work just fine. Next is the Mark of Control helmet. This is the first reward from the Nemosine Animus project. The built-in effect gives posture attacks a chance to hit twice, which works perfectly with the Blade of Yumminess. I added a simple melee damage engraving, but you could easily substitute another offensive engraving that you would prefer. Even if you don't want to wear the helmet, I'd strongly recommend using the engraving that comes with it because it's one of the biggest pieces of this build. For armor, I'm using the Elegant Samurai outfit that comes from the legendary chest in the Megalithic Vault. This armor surprised me. Since the Blade of Yumminess prevents ability use, my adrenaline stays full almost all the time. That means this armor is constantly giving me an additional posture damage. I also engraved a 3% chance to instantly kill with posture attacks, but as far as I can tell, that's a randomly legendary engraving, so you might need to get a little bit lucky to get it. Finally, there's the Masakado's Vengeance Amulet. You get this by assassinating Nunukaro, and looting the legendary chest inside the Ishibuti Kofun. The artifact naturally comes with the engraving that increases your damage by 1% for every unspent mastery point up to a maximum of 200%. I also added 25% damage against Animus Anomalies. I believe that's another random engraving, although I did notice that Naoe's Rebellion Talisman from the level 13 of the Defiance Animus project gives 10% critical chance against Animus Anomalies. I never tested that version, but it might be a good alternative if you don't have the damage engraving. Before we get into the gameplay, I did forget to record my mastery setup before the run, so I'm cutting footage in from after I completed Domain 10. For Long Katana, I invested enough points to fully master it for the 120% damage bonus. Since the Blade of Yumminess disables abilities anyway, I removed them from the shortcuts. For the Naginata, Kanabo, and Teppo, I invested in only the global passives. For Samurai, I maxed out the tree because the 50% health increase ended up being far more valuable to me than I expected. And for the bow, I only invested in enough points to keep it available for an emergency. Now, within my knowledge, and because this is a New Game Plus run, I also was at rank 10, which let me max armor damage, critical chance, critical damage, overall damage, and health. After those, I focused on melee damage, posture damage, damage against vulnerable enemies, armor piercing, consecutive hit damage, damage after breaking armor, damage after kill, and both melee and rage damage reduction. One thing I experimented with a lot was unspent mastery points. At first, I tried leaving almost 200 points unspent for the artifact bonus. Eventually, I ended up using 59 points. That gave me 59% damage bonus from the artifact, while letting me invest heavily into health and all those other passive bonuses that I mentioned. For me, that ended up being a much better balance than going all in on damage. Now, before we start a domain, make sure that you're happy with the modifiers, because once you enter, they're locked until you finish that run. For this clear, I chose Pain and Gain because I can't use abilities anyway, so faster adrenaline generation is basically free extra damage throughout my armor bonus. I also chose Environmental Protection because I found the extra shield was much more valuable than worrying about the frost buildup at the bottom. So, let's get into that run.
Welcome back to the Broken Sky domain. Every domain has the same set of goals. Find and kill the domain Daisho, then head to the arena for an epic boss fight.
And yeah, that death is completely my fault. Apparently, I didn't know where the safe landing was, and you can completely tell that I don't know how to get around the map, that I just don't have them memorized yet.
Every domain has the same set of goals. Find and kill the domain Daisho, then head to the arena for an epic boss fight.
As the run goes on, you'll notice I'm constantly opening fights with Sheathed Attacks. That's the core of the build. Those attacks posture enemies immediately, make them vulnerable, and let the rest of the damage bonuses stack after that.
One dice show taken care of.
This room could have gone very differently. I charged in without really checking how many enemies were inside, and one of them had a skull icon. If he'd connected with a heavy attack, it probably would have just been another restart. With this death, you can see why keeping an eye on your health is so important. I completely lost track of it, and that's how I died there. And yeah, there's more proof. I definitely don't have this domain memorized. That death actually made me question whether I was going to finish the run. Then I noticed something interesting. When I came back, the Daisho had changed. It looks like those encounters rotate when you die, which makes the next attempt much more manageable. The rest of the run is mostly about staying disciplined. Open with a Sheathed Attack, keep your adrenaline full, don't get greedy, and always pay attention to your health.
Really cool.
Looking back now, that explosive barrel could have ended that run pretty quickly. Those shields definitely saved me here, even though I still burned through almost all of my rations. I also got pretty lucky knocking that skull enemy off the platform instead of trying to fight them directly.
Okay, here we go. Boss fight time. My mind is blown. You better
For
be in your
companions,
prime if you
I actually
wanna
didn't
beat
use
Olochi
any during
Prime.
this clear. I had Oniyuri and Yagoro, but I never called them in. After my next Domain 10 run, after this one, I found that Ibuki and Rufino actually were helpful for me in controlling bosses and distracting groups of enemies.
You earned these mod points. Come, buy yourself something nice.
And that's my run. This build got me through Domain 10 at level 98 and earned me the Mod Runner achievement. I'm not claiming it's the absolute best build in the game, but it worked consistently for me after a lot of testing. And hopefully, saves you some time of the trial and error that I went through.
Wow, 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 wow. Listen, I designed these final domains to be damn near unbeatable, but you just crushed it. Come talk to me. I don't have the exact number of people who have finished a top-level domain, but believe me when I tell you that number is small. You've gone above and beyond and deserve a prize to match. Here's a golden
If you have any
bow
questions
staff
about the
with a
build,
crazy perk.
the gear, or the mastery setup, feel free to leave me a comment about it. And if you found something that works even better, I'd love to hear about it. Thanks for watching. And good luck with the Animus domains.